All right, we are live. Got some people entering into the webinar tonight. This is great. I see the numbers ticking upwards. Welcome everyone on Wednesday, January 26th. I'm just going to wait just a couple minutes here. I kind of started the webinar about 30 seconds early, but we'll just wait for some people to come in. And in the meantime, today is Bell Let's Talk Day, which is super cool. I wish this was every day, honestly, where we're talking about mental health and how important it is, and especially at the state in the world we're at. And so we're going to talk about mental health a bit tonight, and well, a lot actually. And we're going to talk about some things you can do on your own to start kind of taking your health in your own hands here. And we're talking about some specific nutrients that have some great research around their benefits for helping you. I am coming live from BC today, so it's 4 o'clock. It's still light out, by the way. I will say this again in a moment, but questions, please pop them in the Q&A box, and I will be answering questions at the end. And Lotus is also here, and she will be helping to answer questions as we go on. There's a little chat box there. I'm just going to type something in there and say hi. All right. Well, I think, you know what, let's just get started here. It's 4:01 and sorry, not 4:01, 7:01 and 4:01. But we'll get started. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. The big thank you to CanPrev and the Big Carrot for sponsoring this webinar tonight. Like I just said, please ask questions in the Q&A box as we go along. So every person attending this webinar today has a chance to win this really awesome prize pack. I'm going to be talking about every single one of these products today, every single ingredient in here. And I got to tell you, man, are they ever skookum products. I've definitely sampled all of those. So a winner will be pulled at the end of this webinar and be contacted by the CanPrev team within the next couple of days, or probably within the next day or two. So keep an eye on your email list. Little introduction about myself. I'm Dr. Rory Gibbons. I'm a naturopathic physician in British Columbia, and I have 2 little boys. One is 3 and one is, oh my gosh, he's like 9.5 months old. So we are living it up over here. It's the best being a dad, for sure. I have a really high interest in functional nutrition and how micronutrients affect the biochemistry in the body. And that's why I get like so excited about this type of presentation, because I get it. I understand the nutrients and how they work and how they affect the neurotransmitters and the hormones. And it makes sense. And you'll see that when we go along today. I'm a speaker, shocking. I'm here doing a speaking event. I've written a bunch of stuff. I'm a husband and father. I love getting outdoors and getting on my road bike and riding. Lately, it's been a lot of trail rides with my son in the trailer while he sleeps. But I'm also a Star Wars fan, so I'm excited for the 5th episode of Boba Fett tonight. So that's what I might be doing after this webinar, after dinner, and after the kids go to sleep. I would actually also like to personally recognize that I am presenting to you today from my home on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples. And I would also like to encourage all of our attendees today to learn about the land they live on. And I found a really cool app recently, maybe everyone knows about it, but it's called Whose Land. And you can just type your address in, and information on the land that you live on comes up, and you can learn about the ancestral history of that area, which I thought was really cool. So let's talk about our topic, like what we're going to be talking about tonight. So stress. Oh my gosh, you hear about it like every day, and it's been such a hot topic in the last 2 years. And, given the state of the world and the pandemic and the restrictions that were going on and what other countries are doing, what Canada's doing, like, and not to mention, strains on relationships and friendships and what's going on in schools and what's going on in your life. Like, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And so if people have been downgrading that for you, I am now telling you, I'm validating that there was a lot going on and you have a right to feel stressed out. So let's break down kind of what stress is here. So stress is how the body and brain respond to any demand. Okay, so any type of challenge, such as performance at work or school, significant life change, a traumatic event, those can be all stressful. Okay, so stress puts us into a state of nervous functioning called sympathetic, or commonly known as fight or flight. Okay, so we are going to touch on this a little bit more on the next page. I just want to do that as a preface. So eustress versus distress. So now we're going to break these things down a little bit more. Eustress gets a bad rap. Okay, stress gets a bad rap, sorry, but not all stress is bad. So eustress is a stress that is positive, motivating, and enhances functioning. Okay, so usually it's not considered a stress, but it's sometimes labeled as incentive or motivation or something like that. So exercise could also be considered a eustress unless you see it as a punishment. So usually in this situation, the energy provided to you from the stress is proportionate to what is needed in the situation. Okay, while in distress, the energy is excessive or unusable. Okay, I'll say that really quickly. I'll say that again, a little bit slower, not quickly. The energy provided in a state of eustress is proportionate to what is needed in the situation. While in distress, the energy is excessive or unusable. Okay, so distress, stresses that tend to stress people out. Okay, this is what usually is talked about. Tends to cause people to feel overwhelmed, anxious, and to experience physical and psychological symptoms like headaches, tension, insomnia, inattentiveness, or irritability. So many of those things ringing a bell right now, like, oh, I've had more headaches in the last 2 years, or they've gotten worse in the last 2 years. Tension in the shoulders and the neck, your inability to sleep. Yeah, it's all very connected, and stress can flare that up. Not to mention gut symptoms, right? IBS flares up. Autoimmune diseases also flare up in situations of stress. So to reiterate, in distress, energy is excessive or unusable in this situation. Okay. Macro stresses, micro stresses. Okay, so macro stresses that you could experience: toxic work environment, toxic relationships, stressful commute. Okay, often these things, like those three specifically, are written off as being stressful, and they're like, well, I just got to do it, right? But if it's a toxic work environment, it doesn't have to be like that. That's a bigger conversation. Micro stresses, these are essentially tiny little assaults throughout our day. Okay, for instance, someone not showing up on time. They show up, but they're a little bit late. Another example, the coffee pot not turning on. Okay, partner not doing something that you told them to do. Okay, getting stuck in traffic on your way home when you usually don't. Those are kind of micro stresses. And these things, even though very small, they can add up, and they can take a metaphor of the straw that breaks the camel's back. One little thing could just be the breaking point, but it's an accumulation that can really give us issues. This is an incredible statistic. So among the age group of 25 to 44, the proportion screening positive for major depressive disorder increased from 18% of people in the fall of 2020 to 23% in the spring of 2021. Okay, that's 6 months. The proportion screening positive for generalized anxiety disorder increased from 15% to 20%. So for both time periods, and proportions of positive screens for at least one disorder were higher for younger age groups relative to older groups. So I really am seeing the effects of the pandemic really coming down on mental health in these statistics. Younger people are definitely being hit hard here, but everyone is, but we can't I can't just say younger people. Everyone are being really hit hard. So stress hormones, what's involved? So fight or flight versus rest and digest. Without going into too much fine detail here, when we experience a stress, eustress or distress, fight or flight hormones are put into action to deal with it. Okay, so specifically cortisol and epinephrine. Epinephrine is also known as adrenaline. We can't label hormones good or bad. Okay, that being said, cortisol is often referred to as bad. It's only because we make it that way. And we don't do a good enough job at regulating our stress, so allowing our body to rest and repair. Then we blame cortisol and call it names. It's like, well, it's cortisol's issue. But really, we're just not resting. We're not resting in a restful state, and it might not be our fault. We are literally just trying to do what we want the body to do, okay? So I also want to bring up the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. And this is the hormonal pathway that activates cortisol release from the adrenal glands. And it is actually not a part of the nervous system. I just want to bring this up because we will be talking about nutrients and herbs that support the adrenal system and the nervous system. So why does cortisol get a bad rap? It gets a bad rap because of its ability to break down tissues. And so when it's secreted chronically, it actually can degenerate certain tissues. So it sure does a good job of controlling inflammation, however, right? The opposite of catabolism is anabolism, and that means building up. And this happens when we are in the rest and repair phase of nervous activity. Let's just do a quick little compare and contrast of short-term and long-term stress. So humans are beautifully designed to handle short bouts of stress, but we really struggle to manage chronic and repetitive stress. It's like we're trying to patch up the damage, but more is happening at the same time. In short, acute situations, our body handles a stressor with a release of cortisol and epinephrine, and when it's over, these hormones decrease, right? But this isn't what we experience right now. We experience negative stressors constantly and chronically, and cortisol is secreted at moderate to high amounts for longer than what we are designed to do. The brain sees this higher than normal levels of cortisol, and the release of the mother hormones from the brain can be dampened. Not to the point, I'm not talking about like Addison's disease where it's like nothing coming out of the adrenal glands, but it can dampen that release of that hormone from the brain, and it can change the cortisol release from the adrenal glands, which can have a symptomatic effect. Just to provide a little visual here. So on your left is the HPA axis, that's the hormonal pathway I was talking about. And on the right is the neurological pathway that has that stress taps into. So stress makes everything worse. Distress, at least, that's what we're talking about. Here's some words that come to mind. You probably heard or you feel these or have felt all of them or a chunk of them in the last 5 years, maybe in the last week, maybe in the last day. So let's connect some dots here from stress to mood. So here's a very incomplete diagram. I want to highlight the holistic impact that stress has on our lives, and including our mental and emotional well-being. So this is why every one of my patients is asked about stress, okay? Like this diagram. It is such a player in our physiological issues, and often it invokes its cyclical patterns. Okay, so an example of a cyclical pattern could be gut issues. I mentioned earlier, stress makes you have altered bowel movements, okay? The altered bowels make you nervous to attend certain events, which invokes a feeling of anxiety, which contributes to your overall stress. So it's a vicious cycle. And as we can see this by this map, it's a holistic beast that we are dealing with. And so that's why like I love what I do so much, is that because I have the time with the patient to ask about these areas of their lives. I have 45 to 60 minutes with a patient. And that is just, it's so valuable to get all that information from them. So let's talk about some lifestyle and dietary things that we can do to start taking control of our health and like making ourselves more robust to deal with stress and be able to adapt. Nature time. Okay. So there's plenty scientific data to support the ancient art of Shinrin Yoku. Okay. It's forest bathing. I believe that's Japanese. Spending time amongst trees, grass, shrubbery, streams. It's all shown to improve blood pressure, cortisol levels, anxiety, and feelings of sadness. And this, go outside and find some trees. I know, okay, easy for me to say because I'm in BC where it's like, plus 10 right now. But the point is, getting outside and spending time with nature is very beneficial. Breathing. Okay, yeah, we breathe all the time. Yeah, got it. But when we focus on breathing and we do breathing techniques, we activate something called the vagus nerve, which automatically starts pulling us out of a sympathetic fight or flight state into a rest and digest state where we can start recovering. Okay. The simple act of focusing on your breath and breathing deep and letting your diaphragm drop and breathing into your stomach, it elicits a nervous response to the vagus nerve. Physical activity. Notice I didn't say go work out. Okay, so working out at the gym or home can be daunting to many people because we don't know where to start. So if you feel like your current level of physical activity is low, then it's time to get out and go for a walk. Okay, time to start adopting the 10-minute walk rule. Strength training, excellent way to improve stress levels. If you want to take that up, I highly recommend a good personal trainer to help you start that journey. Okay, so you're like, yeah, I want to strength train, get strong. Get someone to help you create a plan and to coach you through the workouts. And I have a couple suggestions of way to goes. But strategies to have a digital personal trainer, because there's a lot now. You can just ask me in the chat box or in the Q&A, and I can write those down for you. Digital data intake. This is a big one right now. Social media is a real, it's a heavy one at the moment. There's an infinite scroll of information that spans from positive, uplifting content to very controversial and sometimes hateful messages. Okay, it is very easy to get caught up in the social media and news frenzy. Okay, especially now, you know what I'm talking about. I've certainly been suggesting to my patients and friends and family to try to unfollow people on social media when they feel triggered in a negative way. Okay, so in some cases, just delete the app off your phone, like delete Twitter off your phone, delete Instagram off your phone. Like, it might be hard at first and you'll like go to your phone trying to find something to scroll, but just, yeah, sometimes that is a really great intervention, is just getting rid of it. Don't get me wrong though, it's important to pay attention to certain updates in your area. Trying to limit the destructive noise that you see is very helpful. Less screen time kind of goes hand in hand. Less time in your life, you're exposed to less digital data intake that you are exposed to. Okay, so I'm not just talking about scrolling on social media, talking about watching TV as well. So this is an escape for people, but it's not helping overall. Okay, it's taking away time in bed and rest, and probably taking away time with people. Okay, so blue light also from constant screens also can alter cortisol and melatonin release. Okay, especially in the evening. So our brain sees the blue light coming in, and then it slows down melatonin secretion. That's our sleep hormone. Journaling is another way of kind of getting into a parasympathetic state. It doesn't have to be like the stereotypical like Instagram image, like sit down with a coffee in the morning and a plant and while diffusing essential oils with no kids around. Like, if you want to do that and you can, like, do that, that's cool. But that's not always reasonable, not at least for some parents of young kids. But journaling can be done in 3 minutes if time is an issue. Okay, so 3 things you're grateful for, 1 thing you're excited for today. That's it. Okay, the simple act of writing something down on a paper is actually therapeutic and makes you think a little bit harder. Okay, intentional thinking. So why did I say intentional thinking? And it's a kind of a different way of approaching meditation, because meditation isn't really for everybody. The simple act of thinking about a breath in versus a breath out automatically activates that vagus nerve. Like intentionally thinking about breathing or intentionally thinking about an outcome, a performance outcome, gives your body a positive feeling. Talk to a friend. So reach out to someone who's open-minded, okay, and has proven to be a good listener in the past. A good listener. I'm talking about the people that don't give you solutions. Jump to solutions that just say, yeah, that's hard. Chances are those people, they could also benefit from some honest chats as well. Okay, so if you are struggling to think of someone, there are always counselors that are trained listeners and can help you get through difficult times and emotions. Last thing on the list, but certainly not least, and certainly not the only, there's certainly a lot of other things that we can be doing, but last thing tonight, do something that brings you joy. It sounds corny, I know, but it's so true. This doesn't mean do something that the internet says should bring you joy, okay? Like it's usually something that you did as a kid or a young adult. So we encourage you to like think about that when you're done with this webinar. Like, what am I missing? Like, what do I miss as a kid? So let's talk about some dietary stuff here. So sugar, for a lot of us, we crave sugar when things get tough, and it enters into our diet with a vengeance. Okay, so when we inject sugar into our diet in a large amount, we alter our ability to deal with it, and this can create mood shifts. So 3 things come to mind here. 1, we get a blood sugar crash, which can come out in the form of lightheadedness, irritability, and anger. We can get a blood sugar crash. We get an energy crash, and that looks like lack of energy and motivation, which then leads to less exercise and less outside time, et cetera, et cetera. Remember that vicious cycle. So, and number 3, people can sometimes feel jittery, anxious, and nervous. Okay, this usually happens with the person who's dealing with some sort of anxiety, diagnosed or undiagnosed, or feelings of nervousness. So here's some sugar solutions. Start decreasing the existing sugar in your diet, just a little bit by bit. Okay, added sugar in the coffee. Okay, the hidden cookies in your cupboard, or the bag of candy in your car or office desk that no one knows about. Okay, if you don't buy it, then you don't eat it. Okay, I'm a big fan of these things called smart sweets. They kind of curb the sugar craving. They have something like 92% less sugar, and it's about 3 grams of sugar in a 50-gram bag. And they're really tasty. They got these little Coke bottles. They remind me of the Coke bottles that I used to have when I was a kid. Caffeine. So pretty simple here. Caffeine, as we all know, is a stimulant. If you are someone who is more on the anxious side, this may push you a little further into anxious feelings. So what are the solutions here? Like start having half decaf or a decaf in the afternoon. And if you're a coffee drinker, okay, replace one of your coffees with green tea and then herbal tea. Okay, so you're just slowly decreasing the caffeine. Comfort food. I love comfort food. I just love it. The first thing that comes to mind is a burger and fries. Okay, the thing with comfort food is that usually they are a carbohydrate dominant meal. Usually, other ones that come to mind: macaroni and cheese, pasta with heavy cream sauce, like cake, cinnamon buns. You get the picture. I'm not saying like don't have these things, but think about how you feel afterwards. Okay, so most likely you're going to feel lethargic, heavy, full, bloated, even maybe. Okay, so I don't think anyone that has that meal like reports feeling of elation, energy, uplifting mood, and motivation. I might be wrong, but usually that is the feeling after these heavy carb dense meals. Hydration. This one ties into energy quite tightly. So water has a major role in many chemical reactions in our body, especially in our energy producing pathways. So being hydrated helps move digestion along. It helps the blood flush out metabolites from organs, lymphatics, and muscles. There isn't enough time in the day to talk about how important drinking water is, and a cup of coffee doesn't count as water, by the way. Sorry to ruin that one for you. So let's talk about the products that we're going to talk about tonight, okay, or that we're going to cover. So whenever I'm asked with talking to an audience about a topic, I usually look at the situation the way I look at a patient. Okay, so every situation is unique, and there's usually never one thing that is causing the concern. Right, so very multifaceted. More often than not, the situation needs a holistic approach in order to see long-term improvement. Right, so This is what I really appreciate about these products, is that the combination of ingredients are used to target specific pathways to achieve progress. And I can use those to help that person and make it customized to them. First thing, Adrenal Chill. Adrenal Chill and Adrenal Pro, which is next, both contain herbs that are considered adaptogens. Okay, so this may be a new word to many of you, but I will explain. An adaptogen is something that provides a normalizing effect. Okay, so in other words, it is something that provides the body what it needs in order to combat any sort of stressor without causing much of a shift in normal functioning. Okay, so Adrenal Chill is made up of two things. Part of why I really love it is that it's just two things: ashwagandha and L-theanine. So let's talk about ashwagandha first. Ashwagandha is an excellent example of an adaptogen. It normalizes daily cortisol release. So it's high in cortisol, is usually high in the morning, low in the evening. Over time, with chronic stress, this cortisol release can be low in the morning, high in the evening, high all day, low all day. So there's and everything in between. So how does it do that? We suspect that a constituent of the plant itself is mimicking one of the body's own stress-reducing relaxation hormones, GABA, which reduces cortisol. Okay? Specifically, KSM66 ashwagandha is a very well-researched type of ashwagandha and has shown to really benefit people who have symptoms of higher than normal daily cortisol. Okay, really cool about KSM66. It's grown and harvested in India by what is called a farm-to-table integration. So where they own the farm and the production. So, and this KSM66 patented ashwagandha took about 14 years to develop and refine. And in that 14 years, there's been some promising research conducted on it. It's very common in Ayurvedic medicine and is used in people of all ages. And so here are just some studies. Some studies that I found really incredible. One study, there was a 22% drop in serum cortisol after only 8 weeks. It's 2 months. It's not very long. And that's probably enough to feel the difference. Ashwagandha helps to preserve vitamin C in the adrenal glands. So when we are chronically stressed, our adrenal glands dump vitamin C to allow our white blood cells to work. It reduces subjective measures of stress by about 33%. And one study on anxiety showed an 88% reduction in anxiety symptoms versus 50% in placebo. 88% reduction, that's pretty impressive. And sleep, talk about insomnia a little bit at the beginning. Ashwagandha has shown improvement in sleep quality over 8 weeks, and we know that sleep has been proven to reduce anxiety and stress. That is not new news. L-theanine, an amino acid that is used to induce calm and mental clarity without making you feel sleepy. So, pro tip, have one of these before you do activities that require mental work, like presentations or exams or anything that's maybe in front of people that make you stressed out. Full disclosure, I had one before this presentation. You can expect it to work within about 45 to 60 minutes. So what does it do? So L-theanine gets absorbed into the bloodstream, crosses the blood-brain barrier, and puts our brain into a more alpha wave state. Alpha waves are associated with a calm nervous system, one that is more rest and digest dominant versus fight or flight. So you could consider the action of L-theanine as like a restful wakefulness. Okay, so maybe to give you an example would be the state someone would be in during a meditation session. If you are calm, your mind is calm, but you aren't feeling sleepy. It also increases your dopamine and GABA activity in the brain. And when this happens, people feel less fear and stress. That sounds good. L-theanine also can be taken on its own, but I often see people needing an adrenal support and the L-theanine. Okay, so there's like L-theanine works to kind of like help that acute symptomatic issue, like the anxiety, and then the ashwagandha is there to like support the adrenals' ability to handle stress that's ongoing. Common question I get with this product: can I take it before bed? And the answer is yes. Probably won't make you drowsy. It probably won't make you energized. Adrenal Pro. one of my first products that I ever took as a young naturopathic student. Great combo of 8 different ingredients that address both the hypothalamic pituitary axis and the central nervous system. So when we take this combo, we can expect to experience increased energy, reduction in stress and fatigue, improved sleep, enhanced sense of well-being, improved emotional well-being. These are all great things. I love this type of product because it hits stress pathways from many different angles. Okay, so L-tyrosine, sometimes referred to as the stress amino acid. So why? Because dopamine and epinephrine are literally derived from this amino acid. So if this amino acid is not present, the production of those critical stress hormones will be very limited, putting more stress, more like it will be, that stress pathway will be taxed more. It also makes thyroid hormone, which we know is a very important metabolic regulator. Vitamin B5, pantothenic acid, literally found everywhere in the body. That's why it's called pantothenic, pantos meaning everywhere. Very crucial in adrenal function. KSM66 ashwagandha is in here, as we just talked about, acts to mimic a nervous system inhibitory hormone called GABA. It has Siberian ginseng, also known as Eleutherococcus centicosus. It reduces fatigue, improves endurance, and combats stress. A really cool thing about Siberian ginseng, back in the 70s, this herb was heavily utilized by Olympic athletes, specifically Russian athletes, because of its physical effect. But then later, it made its way into the Russian cosmonaut program because of its effect on focus and mental clarity. Which is pretty important when you become an astronaut or a cosmonaut, I guess, in their case. Schisandra, very cool herb, very cool name. Interestingly enough, if you eat a Schisandra berry, it will contain all 5 flavors: bitter, sweet, acrid, sour, and salty, which is interesting because it correlates very well to the elements of traditional Chinese medicine. And that's another presentation in itself. Because of this, it's considered a harmonizing tonic, okay, due to its energetic profile. Rhodiola, another great herb for students. It's super cool because it actually is the fastest acting adaptogen, and we can see improvements in burnout and fatigue often within a week. Also has some properties that will act similar to antidepressants, but with a safer side effect profile. And so when I was a student, this was a real go-to for me during exam periods because it helped me focus. It makes sense because studies on ER docs and military cadets showed increased capacity for mental work and less fatigue. So it's really incredible herb. When it's on its own, for instance, you can get these herbs by themselves. Really great for someone that is stressed, like right now. Take that, your focus becomes more concentrated, and your central nervous system starts like just calming it down. Astragalus, I love the addition of astragalus because I think of it as a deep immune herb. Okay, so it stimulates blood cell production at the level of the bone marrow. I like this herb in this combo because the stress often takes a toll on the immune system. So in other words, it dampens the immune response. Stress does. Okay. Vitamin B6 fits more in the central nervous system rather than the hormonal system. Okay. Specifically, it makes epinephrine and norepinephrine. It helps to make those things. And it doesn't just help the fight or flight responses. It also helps GABA, serotonin, and dopamine do their job, which are the calming hormones. So as you can see, like this Adrenal Pro, it hits a lot of areas that are being affected by stress. Dose 1 cap twice a day. And from my experience, usually this, I haven't had an issue with people taking this before they go to sleep. I usually just say like, you know what, don't take this too late in the afternoon if sleep issues are a problem. Synergy B, okay, B complex, super common to be prescribed or recommended by a naturopathic doctor, just because like we need all of these water-soluble vitamins. Okay, as we talked about earlier, in adrenal chill, L-theanine works to put our brain into a calmer alpha wave state, which is a great addition to the Bs, which are working to convert the food we eat into fuel for energy production. Okay, so when we activate alpha wave function, we automatically start suppressing the beta waves. B vitamins all work together as cofactors in biochemical reactions to create energy. I remember actually the moment that biochemistry and nutrition clicked for me. Someone showed me a complicated diagram of molecules and enzymatic reactions. It was just like a mess. And instead of saying, this is converted to this with the help of NADH, they said, this is converted to this with the help of vitamin B3. And that was the beginning of my interest in functional nutrition, right there. They are water soluble, so they need to be replaced daily. Okay, you certainly can get these vitamins in the diet, but we need to keep in mind that often vegetables and fruits that we eat are not what they used to be due to farming practices and processing of food. Every time a food goes through a process, we lose some nutrition. And to add, they are being grown in often nutrient depleted soil. So, and to add a little bit more, we are stressed out. So we are using B vitamins up at a higher rate than ever before. So our intake is not as robust and our utilization of these B vitamins is higher. So that's cool. That's why I recommend B vitamins to almost everybody. And it's also why naturopathic doctors love to put them in the intravenous cocktails. To add, B vitamins all play different roles, okay? For instance, B3 has a big role in concentration and mood, among others, and B7 has a large role in fat metabolism, skin and hair health. B12, 9, and 6 have a role in blood cell production and cardiovascular health. So you're just getting a lot of great stuff in that little product. Magnesium, I love talking about magnesium, just love it. And CanPrev magnesiums are awesome because there's a lot of different ones that are kind of tailored to the person. So it's one of those minerals that is cheap, effective, and hits a lot of angles for patients. People generally see a difference, usually quite quickly. And to add, it's a very safe mineral to use. And we now know that it has over 800 different roles in the body. So it's kind of an important cofactor. But not all magnesium supplements are created equal. Okay, so there's plenty of research to show that they all do different things. And as you can see from this diagram right here, we have total magnesium transported, so absorbed basically. And we have the type down here. So we have magnesium bisglycinate chelate, buffered magnesium bisglycinate, we have malate, citrate. Most CanPrev products are glycinate. I believe all of them are. And then we get down to these ones here, magnesium citrate, magnesium oxide. This one people will know as milk of magnesia. So what does that do? It makes you, use it as a laxative. Yeah, so today we'll be discussing a very well absorbed form, and that is the magnesium bisglycinate. In the body, about 65% is in your bones of magnesium, and 40% is in soft tissues, and only 1% in your blood. So it's actually hard to test the magnesium in the body because so little is found in the bloodstream itself. So it's highly needed in our body. Highest concentrations in the bones, hearts, in your bones, heart, muscles, and nervous system. You only have one heart. We need to take care of it. It works to keep our heart rate rhythm steady. It promotes proper relaxation of our muscles, helps metabolize blood sugar, ensures nerve fibers fire well, and can even help mitigate pain at a central nervous system level, promotes regulation of blood pressure, it activates vitamin D, and of course, relevant to today's topic, can help create cellular energy. There's a lot of stuff. So every single one of these symptoms can come from chronic stress. And I've seen it both in myself, but in most of my patients, okay? When I give them magnesium bisglycinate, they almost always have a reduction in at least one of these symptoms. And I think I'm speaking conservatively when I say that. I'd probably put money on it that most people here have experienced one or more of these symptoms in the last week. And this is why almost all of my patients go on magnesium. This magnesium product, bisglycinate 200, delivers 200 milligrams of elemental magnesium. There are two other straight magnesium products from CanPrev that have less elemental magnesium, the 140 milligram dose and the 80. These ones actually are a little gentler on the gut and are more well tolerated in people with sensitive stomachs, IBS, stomach acid issues, and autoimmune disorders like Crohn's and colitis. A little bit more sensitive. The great thing about magnesium is that it will go where it is needed. You can't overdose on it if you take it orally. The body has a checkpoint where it stops absorbing magnesium and it just gets excreted through the bowels. Okay, so it's like, oh, we need magnesium. You take your dose of magnesium, takes what it needs, and then the rest stays there. Probably my favorite mineral, and I take it every day, usually at nighttime. Remember when I said there was a lot of different magnesiums that CanPrev has? Here is one. It is a dynamite combo. So for those people that are having some more complicated sleep issues and the regular magnesium is not cutting it, along with all the other sleep hygiene stuff, like the foundational things, then this beautiful calming magnesium combo will most likely help them. So 2 people come to mind that may need this product, okay? 1, people who can't fall asleep. It usually takes them about 2 hours longer than most other people, okay? Number 2, people for one reason or another are not following a usual circadian rhythm. So maybe someone who is trying to get past some jet lag or someone who is a night shift worker, and this is a go-to for my night shift workers. I mentioned briefly a moment ago that magnesium can help with sleep. So it actually plays a role in supporting deep restorative sleep by maintaining healthy levels of GABA. And GABA promotes sleep, okay? Like the continuation of sleep. The melatonin in this product is the fast-acting ingredient that will put your mind and body to sleep. Okay, so it doesn't always help keep you asleep, but the GABA is there to help this happen. Melatonin gets you to sleep. GABA keeps you there. GABA, inhibitory neurotransmitter. So in other words, it's a molecule in the central nervous system that acts in a calming nature. GABA enables the body and mind to relax and fall asleep and continue sleeping through the night, okay? Dun, dun, dun. For more information on magnesium, which there's a lot of information on it, go to this website and download the primer. It's a PDF with a bunch of awesome analogies and infographics. Vitamin D3. Okay. Oh my gosh, I love vitamin D. This is another one of those products that I recommend to almost every single patient because they're all Canadian and we all need vitamin D in our lives, especially now. Super common. Everyone knows about vitamin D. It's an important fat-soluble vitamin that is needed in many ways, okay? So the B vitamins, all water-soluble, so you pee them out, okay? The fat-soluble ones, sorry, you don't just pee them out, you use them, and then you pee out what you don't use and the metabolites of them. Okay, so the fat-soluble vitamins are stored, okay? So vitamin D, like you can't just take a whole bunch every day for long term. Like it builds up and you can have negative health effects. Basically, everyone can benefit from taking daily vitamin D, especially if you live in Canada, like I said. So get it tested if you're not sure. And of course, consult your doctor if you feel like you need more than on the bottle, okay? So the test you want from your doctor, medical doctor or naturopathic doctor, is called 25-OH vitamin D. CanPrev's vitamin D is made in liquid and capsule form and is 1,000 IUs per drop, or per cap or per drop. I believe there may be a different vitamin D coming out in a different dosage. Vitamin D versus D3. So which one do you need? D2, D3? When sourcing out a supplement to take, it's very important to pay attention to this. Okay, so D2 is synthesized in plants, mushrooms, and yeasts, and used typically in vitamin D fortified foods and some supplements, okay? Problem with it is that it's poorly absorbed and utilized. And period. D3 is the form that is made by the body when sunshine hits the skin. Okay, so it's readily absorbed when it's taken internally, and the body has to do very little in order to use it. To help in the absorption of this vitamin, CanPrev has encapsulated the vitamin D3 into capsules of organic coconut oil, which is stable and enhances absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. Most D3 supplements made from lanolin. So if you are vegan, then you may want to source a different D3 product. So there's some lichen-derived D3s, but the potency is not as high. Lichen, L-I-C-H-E-N. Vitamin D deficiency is a common denominator amongst people with depression. So clinically, I see this often as we enter the fall and winter months. I don't want to say deficiency because when you test vitamin D3, when you test 25-hydroxy vitamin D, there's different categories. And if you're lower than 75, which is the lower cutoff in Canada, I believe, then we need to get you into that healthy range. We have to remember, though, that depression is a multifaceted situation, all right? And vitamin D3 isn't always a silver bullet. Okay, so that being said, if it doesn't help a ton with your mood, then it is certainly helping in a different way. So it's not just, don't just write it off. D3 can come by itself, but it also can be purchased in combination with vitamin K2. And K2 is a great addition because it helps with bone density and dental health. Basically, it sends the calcium in the bone, and it takes the calcium in the bone and redirects it from depositing in the kidneys and arteries and sends it to the bones and teeth. So last but not least here, healthy mood. This product is wonderful. Personally take this one, and I really like it. It's a really great product. I'm going to tell you more about it right now. So healthy mood, jam-packed little capsule. Basically everything in it I've talked about already besides saffron. What a cool and beautiful ingredient in this product, okay? So who is going to benefit from this? People who have low mood and or feelings of nervousness can benefit from taking this. Okay, so pretty big spectrum, and it aims to bring you back to neutral, okay? Saffron, certainly the main ingredient in this product, but the other ingredients work to have a harmonizing effect on mood via a few different pathways. First, let's talk about saffron. Saffron we use, that CanPrev uses, is top-notch. It's grown in Iran and processed in France. And the part that we use is called the stigma. And it's the beautiful red parts that this arrow is pointing to right here. In the world of saffron grading, the one that is used in this product is the highest grade called Sargol grade. It's extremely rich in active metabolites, and we know that when used together, they are more effective than when used in isolation. It's the wonderful thing about plants and herbs. Saffron grown in Iran has the richest stigmas compared to other saffrons grown in other areas of the world. The use of this herb goes back 3,000 plus years ago, mainly as a food colorant and additive, but also traditionally in Persian and Indian Ayurveda for its calming, hypnotic, and antidepressant and anti-anxiety properties. Some research, some modern trials here on saffron, the attention that saffron gets is in people that have mild to moderate depression, okay? So major depression, not a lot of clinical research on major depression. So clinical trials have shown that saffron has been shown to be as effective as some leading pharmaceuticals in its class, namely imiprine and fluoxetine for mild depression. Noticeable results happen after 1 week, but main results usually happen around 6 weeks. For stress and anxiety, saffron works at dampening the effect of cortisol and mitigating the long-term effects of chronic stress via their potent antioxidant profile. It's so hard to talk about all this stuff in 60 minutes. Like I could just go on and on about it. It's so interesting. For depression and mood, they have similar actions as some antidepressants in that it works to block the reuptake of serotonin. So the serotonin that's existing in your body can exist longer in the area of action and provide more mood effects before being removed and recycled. Also improves dopamine. Okay, it helps promote GABA action in the brain, and so we can see how it improves mood in a few different angles. There's definitely more in this product. Okay, I'm throwing a lot at you tonight, but great thing is that it's recorded and it'll be up on YouTube if you need to get this information again. So just a fast summary on the other ingredients: integral nutrients that act in the brain and deserve more attention than what I'm going to summarize today. So 5-HTP, it's there to help create more serotonin. as it is a direct precursor to the creation of serotonin. Okay, GABA, main inhibitory neurotransmitter that produces a calming effect in the brain. The other vitamins and minerals added to this product have shown to be supportive in making antidepressant anxiety medications more effective. Okay. Just a note on B12, it is essential for the biosynthesis and metabolism of serotonin, amongst many, many other things. Instructions here, 1 cap 3 times a day, shouldn't make you drowsy at all. Just a little caveat on this topic while we're here is that if you are motivated to take this and you're taking an antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication, please consult your doctor before you do that, just because there are some interactions that could potentially happen. So that's, we're going to stop with the new information. A little summary here. Stress pathways we talked about, stress states, hormones involved. We connected the dots from stress to mood changes. We talked about lifestyle and dietary additions. And that lifestyle and dietary additions part, like, I can't stress enough, no pun intended, that is so important to put as foundational pieces in your life right now. And then we talked about all the rad products tonight from CanPrev. Thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to ask you now, what is one thing you will do for yourself after this webinar is done? For me, I'm going to start doing more often is writing in my planner and intentional thinking and gratitude. And I think everyone, I've had patients really see the benefit of doing this. Someone gave me the 5-minute journal for Christmas, so I've been doing that, and it's really great. It's like 1 page, date it, and it prompts you like 3 or 4 questions. Give us a follow on social media, CanPrev, and on Instagram and Facebook. And you can find me at these places, Instagram, Facebook. You can check out my website. You can email me. You know what? If you want to get in touch with me, email me. Okay, like, social media is hard for me right now, and I'm taking a little bit of a break. I mean, today I posted some things up so I could promote this webinar. But yeah, send me an email if you want to get in touch. I'm going to answer some questions now. Thank you so much for listening and getting through that. I'm going to answer. Go to the Q&A box here. Would appreciate a good trainer to get started, please. Oh, I love it. I love it. So yeah, a couple, it depends on where you are, but there's a company called Workout. I'm going to write it down here. Workout, and it's an online service where you can pick your trainer, and or that you get matched up with the trainer, and they coach you through exercises via their digital platform. That's one. And then a lot of other personal trainers are using something called Trainerize, which is really great, where they send you the program, they coach you through it, and then you do it on you keep track of it on your phone. Is there Angela asks, is there any way to measure cortisol level? Yeah, absolutely. There's a bunch of different ways. So the cheapest way that I know of is serum cortisol, and you can do AM cortisol level and PM cortisol levels. So basically this involves getting a requisition for that test, going into the lab, getting your blood drawn in the morning, drawn in the evening, and it will show you where you sit in their range. The other commonly used cortisol measuring procedure is your saliva test, where you get a kit requested from your naturopathic doctor, and you spit into tubes throughout the day. So it's actually harder than you think to like spit and fill up like 4 mils of saliva. Speaking of which, but that is another way of measuring that, and that will give you a curve of where your diurnal cortisol levels sit. And then The other way of testing cortisol is through a urine panel, where it can look at cortisone, which is your storage form of cortisol, and you can look at the metabolites, see how fast you're crunching through cortisol as well. So a great question to ask a naturopathic doctor in your area and see what they do it. Not all naturopathic doctors run the same tests. They have their ones that we go to that we know really well and get results from. You said that heightened cortisol levels cause dumping of vitamin C so that white cells can work. Yeah, for sure. I can see why that was a little bit, might have been confusing. So vitamin C, there's a portion that is stored in the adrenal glands, okay? And so we need vitamin C for production of cortisol. All right. And so what we know is that when stress happens, then the vitamin C is released from the adrenal glands. Dumping, I guess it may not be, it might not be the right terminology, but that is what the literature says, or the language in functional medicine. So when the vitamin C is let go from the adrenal glands, it goes to promote proper white blood cell production. Okay, so I don't want to say it's like being wasted on your white blood cells, but it's an example of how chronic stress can deplete that vitamin C from the adrenal glands, and then tax the adrenal glands' ability to make the stress hormones. Okay, I hope I made that clear. Rochelle says, generally glad I got the privilege to be enlightened by this brilliant webinar. Thank you so much. Recuperating from chronic fatigue, fibro, Lyme disease, PTSD. Question, when is the ideal time to take these supplements? Sublime and Splendid. If we're taking other meds necessary for life-sustaining purposes, 3 hours apart, adequate, empty stomach with a meal. These bottles would specify the recommendations, I suppose. That's a hard question to answer. And it depends on what you're taking. Like, it depends on what you're taking. And one, if those supplements are going to interact with your life-sustaining medications, I don't know what those are. That is a more specific question for your person that you're going along with this healing journey with. So your medical doctor or your naturopathic doctor. Okay. Good luck. And thank you so much for your kind words, Rochelle. Juliana says, can you talk about the benefits of inositol and if CanPrev has a product to recommend? CanPrev has inositol. I believe it's myo-inositol. So inositol does a bunch of different stuff, and you can use inositol for mood improvement. My pro tip with inositol is don't start too much. Okay, so the recommended dose, I think, on the bottle is like 5 grams. Maybe start with 1 gram, so like a quarter teaspoon or a quarter. I believe it's teaspoon because it's powdered. Inositol has really wonderful blood sugar regulating properties. And so with patients that have polycystic ovarian syndrome, this is a very good one because it works on a hormonal level, but also looks at managing blood sugars as well. Loretta says, I also have CanPrev D3K2. Awesome. If I take 2 capsules to have 2,000 IUs, vitamin D3, does that give me more than needed K2? I think that's safe. I'll have to double check the upper limit of K2. Yeah, if you're looking to dose vitamin D3 higher, I usually just do D3 on its own. Okay, when it gets to like kind of higher than recommended intakes. So just to double check, or for you, Loretta, like if you Google upper limit of K2, daily limit of vitamin K2, then you should get an answer for that one. And I'm going to do that afterwards. Angela says, why would someone have chronic vitamin D depletion even though they take 10,000 IUs of D3? That's a good question. That is a very good question, Angela. I have other questions that I would like to ask about that. I had a patient ask me the other day, why does my husband have lower vitamin D than I do? He spends more time outside than I do, like 90% of his time during the day outside. And I spend most of my time inside. And why does he have less vitamin D than I do? And often I'll say, everybody is different. And what you're asking is, Angela, what you're asking is a very specific question. And I don't have an answer for you, unfortunately. But if you'd like, send me a quick email and it'll remind me to to answer that. Do you have any product recommendation for vertigo? Depends on why the vertigo is happening. And I do not have a product. I always recommend going to see a vestibular physiotherapist. Loretta says, thank you so much for explaining. Yes, you're very welcome. Oh, yeah, of course. Awesome. Someone asked, Fazila asked, would magnesium bisglycinate help with my stress? Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about stress and magnesium. I love magnesium. It works on a few different levels. Maybe just when the recording's done, check that out again on that section. And also download the primer. Download the primer from magnesium.ca. Really, really great information. And there's a really great section on stress and magnesium in there. Thank you so much for attending, everyone. Someone asked, do you have a product for jaw that pops when yawning? My recommendation there, usually to patients that have that, is please go see a physiotherapist that deals with, oh my gosh, temporal mandibular disorders, so TMJ disorders. And this other person says, hey, on the CanPrev magnesium bisglycinate ingredient list, magnesium oxide is listed before bisglycinate. Just wondering, does that mean there is more oxide than bisglycinate, or are they about the same ratios? Yeah, so that's a good question. I asked that question too. And the reason why oxide is included is because we are trying to deliver a certain amount of magnesium chelate into the person. And this combination is needed in order to fill the capsule and deliver that amount of magnesium. All right, last questions here. Thank you, Cynthia, for attending. You said you have to run. So run. I've had so much fun. I love talking about this topic, everyone. Like, we need to talk about our mental health, and we need to recognize that people are struggling right now. And if you are one of those people, like, please reach out to someone who's close to you. Please, like, seek out counseling, that someone can help you get through whatever you're getting through. Nutrition and supplements can get you so far. Okay. But getting the foundations to health are so important. Like, I can't stress enough, like, those, getting the diet in order, getting physical activity in check, improving mindset, like ditching toxic Instagram accounts. Oh my gosh. My heart goes out to all of you that are listening tonight. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to wait another minute here if anyone has any more questions. I see. Yeah, there's one question in the box from KW, and it says, "Do you have a product for jaw that pops when yawning?" I don't have a product for jaw that pops when yawning, but I recommend to see a TMJ physiotherapist. There is also, oh, I'm glad we brought it up again, but naturopathic doctors do have, in some jurisdictions, have the ability to use acupuncture. And there are some really cool points that you can do for TMJ where you put needles kind of around that area. And there's some self-massage stuff you can do as well, like in the masseter muscle right here. That can be really tight. And if you push on it, it might be tender. That needs some work. But again, like, there isn't really a product that will help that specifically. And the other thing is, like, why do you have a jaw that pops? Are you grinding? Are you clenching at nighttime and is putting stress in there? Craniosacral, yeah, Angela says, TMJ also can do craniosacral therapy or osteopathy. Yeah, you're totally right. That definitely can be helpful. Yeah, craniosacral and osteopathy are wonderful and amazing therapies that I don't really understand, but I've seen some pretty incredible things happen to patients. So I never write that off. All right, I'm going to hit stop now. Oh, wait. Doug says, how about liquid magnesium bisglycinate, then no oxide? Yeah, liquid magnesium bisglycinate is good. CanPrev has a good one, and it tastes delicious too. You don't necessarily need to avoid oxide. You won't, it's not harmful. Haley Corbett says, it's hard to stay active and connected in a pandemic in the wintertime. You're right. It is so hard. And as I was saying that today, like, get outside and go for a walk. Like, man, I don't know what it's like in Ontario right now. And I just, my heart goes out to you guys. And it's cold as ever as well. Like, it's not easy. I understand. It's not easy, but we can do this. We can get through this. Freezing in Toronto, Dr. Rory. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know what that feels like. I don't know. But okay, thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate everyone signing in today. Please take care of yourself, and if you have questions later, please just email the CanPrev team. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop now.